विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. Right? So sorry. Make sure I have the right copy. Okay, so now we'll do lead and repeat. Vedo nityamadhiyatam tadudidam karma svanushthiyatam tadudidam karma svanushthiyatam tene shasya vidhiyatam apachitihi tene shasya vidhiyatam apachitihi kamye matistyajyatam papogaf paridhuyatam bhavasukhe bhavasukhe doshonusandhiyatam atmecha vyavasiyatam nijagrahat turnam vinirgamyatam. So now we'll chant this together. Vedo nityamadhiyatam tadudidam karma svanushthiyatam tene shasya vidhiyatam apachitihi kamye matistyajyatam papogaf paridhuyatam bhavasukhe doshonusandhiyatam atmecha vyavasiyatam nijagrahat turnam vinirgamyatam. So we had seen up until this point, Vedo Nityam Adhiyatam. May I study the Vedas well and constantly so that it may be my perpetual guidance in life for any questions I have, for any direction I need in the way to live my life. Then once I've learned that well, may I follow those instructions to perfection. Taduditam karma svanushthiyatam. May perfection be my standard. May I never fall from that state of perfection in performing my karmas and duties. Because any lack of perfection will honestly come from our own weaknesses within ourselves. The point of performing those ordinances given by Vedas is so that we may achieve that perfection, and only that will allow us to become liberated and experience permanent joy. So perfection is our level of standard. Then when it comes to the word karma, we had also seen that they were very specific in defining what karma is. And we saw that chart flow, I don't know. Anyways, that there are actions that should not be done, should be done. And again, these are not commandments because each choice has been thought through. Where does these certain choices lead me, and will it help me evolve, and will it keep my society integrated? Both are taken into account because I am part of the fabric of society. So will it create constructive evolution or destructive chaos? What does it lead to? And interestingly, when it comes to both analysis, no other shastras will sit so in depth and study what happens when we do the wrong things. Even if you take up one of the later chapters in Bhagavad Gita, I'm thinking it's 16, 17, or 13 as well. It will spend 4 or 5 verses talking about what happens to the man who is corrupted by tamas or rajas, who has a materialistic outlook in life, and he has a selfish attitude. What is his lifestyle? What is he motivated by? What is the results he experiences when he walks that road? No other shastra seems to sit and actually analyze what happens when we make wrong choices. And therefore, when we say should and should not, these are educated decisions, not commandments that require blind belief. In fact, shastras say, make your choices. In fact, in teachers, actually it's right there on that board, in teacher satsang, we're going over the concept between prayas and shreyas. Path of good and not path of bad, path of pleasant. Because the difference between the two is, I can make a choice now, and it'll be hard. It'll be difficult. I would hate doing it right now. I go through a lot of pains. But I do it anyways because down the road it will be a good thing for me. That's path of good. Prayas is path of pleasant. I cannot stand not feeling happy all the time. I can't stand sorrow or difficulty. Give me that instant gratification. I want it now. But what happens down the road? It's not good for longevity. So it's a path of pleasant, because that pleasant feeling is what's tempting in that moment. And even then, and I asked the teachers at that point, which one is stronger? Path of prayas or shreyas? And I get all sorts of answers. Prayas because it's easy to get tempted. Shreyas because it's the right thing to do. And I said it's neither. The one that's strongest is the one we give into all the time. So it's like the wolf that I feed. Which one of these wolves do I feed constantly? And what do I mean by feed? The choices I make. If I choose prayas more consistently, shreyas will be stronger. If I choose prayas more consistently, prayas will be stronger. So Shastra is benevolent in that way, saying, choice is up to you. But understand well what choice you're making, where it's going. That's up to you. So Nishiddha and Vihita, these are the 2 types of karmas that can be performed. Those that I should, those that I shouldn't. Now in the ones that I should do, even that is divided into 4 types. 2 and 2, that's how I keep them organized in my head. The ones I should do is Nitya and Naimitika. Daily and the duties that happen on special occasions that is required for me to participate in. So both of them put together are called Niyata karmas. Regardless of where I am, I will have to maintain those duties. So some of the examples we saw was body, mind, and intellect. To maintain the body, to maintain the mind, to maintain my intellect, there's certain duties I have to do on a daily basis, regularity. Then there are duties I have to do because of the ashrama that I'm in. As a brahmacharya grahastha, there are duties that come with it. I can't fight it. I'm here, therefore I have to do it. You're a parent, you have duties that you have to do whether you like it or not. It comes with a package deal. Then that is ashrama. The other category also is varnas. Based on the particular temperament and the path that I've chosen to follow because of what vasanas I have to exhaust, those come with duties. I can choose any profession I want, but once I've chosen, it has a set of duties. No negotiations there. So all of these fall under I have to do. Then the other 2 is not everyone has to pick this up. I myself might not need to pick it up for my entire life. It depends on the circumstance. And what are the 2 different types of circumstances? Kamya karma and prayaschitta karma. These are the other 2. Kamya karma. If I have a desire, then may I manage it through the channels of dharma. Because what's the goal of Shastras again? To be desirelessness is the ultimate state. We saw that in today's assembly in Bhagavad Gita verse where we saw, if I'm able to perform karma yoga really well, and again, every time I bring up that word now, I'm going to ask for that definition. Karma yoga means it is a selfless action dedicated to a higher altar. It's even for myself to get that ingrained in my head. Selfless action meaning that there is no self, therefore what desires? It will reach to that point when I do karma yoga so well. That is the goal, not to have desires. But I'm not there yet. I have no idea what life is like without desires. I have no clue how to manage them. So until then, Shastras give guidance. For the kamas that I have, may I evaluate what they are. There are some that I just should not fulfill. Really negative ones, right? And we know plenty of dire examples, sociopathic tendencies, very dire ones that we should just not indulge in. Those fall under Nishiddha karma. But there are some that are not as bad. We can work with it, where it's malleable. It can bring us some good if we handle it the right way. Therefore, if I have a pursuit of wealth, if I have a pursuit of fame and success, if I have a pursuit for anything, may I make sure that it's done in such a way that I grow out of it. That is what dharma will really do for me. That even if I have pursuit of wealth, may I selflessly earn it. May I dedicate it for higher purposes other than myself. So in consistent practice, in taking that vasana and applying it to a selfless reason, I will start to disassociate with the attachment to wealth. Therefore, even in Bhaja Govindam, we don't say wealth is bad. In fact, we say Lakshmi Devi is respected, let us worship her. We say the attachment and greed to wealth is the problem, the relationship to it. So may I navigate my kamas in such a way that it follows dharma, because it is that dharmic way of living that will help me evolve. Therefore, I can come to the state of kamye matis tyajyatam in this verse. The next one, last category, was prayaschitta, and we were exploring this topic last class. That whenever I am navigating, dealing with my kamas, dealing with my nitya karmas, and trying not to do nishiddha karmas, throughout this entire process, I will inevitably make mistakes. It reminds me of puja. If all other steps are cut short, may my Kshama Prarthana be thoroughly well said at that point. Kshama Prarthana means forgiveness. Bhagwan, kayena vacha manasendriyerva, meaning whenever I've made mistakes on the level of my actions, speech, and thought. Have we ever asked for forgiveness for the kind of thinking we've had? Sometimes we ignore that. We ask for forgiveness for a wrong mistake. We ask for forgiveness when I've said something wrong. But what about our thoughts? No one's there to be accountable for what's happening inside. Do I recognize that level of prayaschitta? So may my efforts in purifying the mistakes that I've done be consistent. I can make mistakes either in things I should do and didn't do, or things I shouldn't have done but I did anyways, both ways. Sins of commission and sins of omissions. Both of these, am I paying attention to it? And so last time we had seen that for their dharma shastras and, for example, manusmritis, depending on the specific kind of mistake I've made, I can have a specific set of prayaschitta karma that I choose to take up to rectify that. But if we were to enter those shastras unprepared, the vast details, the vast extent to which we have to do tapas to rectify what we did will frighten us, scare us, and we will collapse within our own selves looking at all of this. So even Guruji, Puja Guruji, Swami Tejomananji, in his commentary in Dharma Shastras on Prayaschitta specifically, he says, it will frighten us, but let us always remember the three-pronged principle behind any Prayaschitta karma. Three things that are key to making sure that I atone for mistakes. First one was, may I truly and sincerely regret what I've done. Many times, I'm sorry, I won't do that again. But internally, we don't actually believe we did anything wrong. Is that sincerity and depth of recognition that I actually did something wrong happen? That would be the key. Once that sincerity and genuineness of that feeling is there, then we will automatically see that we have the courage and strength to say, I will take upon a tapas for my own self. I will choose to punish my own self so that I remember that I won't make this mistake again. I will atone for what I've done. No one else has to force me to take on my own punishment. I will naturally gravitate towards it because I know what I did was wrong. I truly regret. What can I do to fix this? I'm ready to do that. That attitude comes up. And in, I think last class we had ended around different examples of tapas we can choose to take on. One was vratas. That I have done something wrong, therefore I will fast for 2 days or 3 days. Why is fasting an idea there? When it comes to food, we're quite addicted to it, right? We want to be comfortable. We want to not be upset about being hungry or not having what we like or dislike. I sit in that realm of comfort. When I take up a vrata, I will cause myself to detach from my attachments. Hey, I need to be in control of myself and pull away from things that I'm constantly addicted to. It was that same attachment to comfort that caused me to make my mistakes. In any junction of mistake I make, it's probably because the ego didn't want to do it. So I slipped around the dharma that I was supposed to do because my ego couldn't handle it. It was too attached to its own comforts and ideas. Vrata is a nice case study to force myself to see what it's like not to give in to my own ego. So that ability can translate to this prayaschitta karma as well. Ego, why did you give in? Why do you always get in the way of doing the right thing? Learn to be detached from your own desires. Here's an example. Let me take on vratas. Understand? Okay, I will never make this mistake again. It's a dialogue with my own self. Challenging my own attachments and comfort zones. So tapas there helps me develop that. Then tirtha yatras. And I think last example we talked about was, for every step someone will do namaskara, stashtanga namaskara when they do pradakshina. May my conscious effort be as detailed as I pay attention to every step I take. Every single move that I make, may I offer that as a surrender to Bhagwan, saying, I am sorry for what I've done. That level of attention to where am I making mistakes and how conscious of it am I? And keeping that ideal as Bhagwan saying, I want to reach the state of perfection that you represent. I am walking towards you. I will make so many mistakes along the way, but help me make sure that I keep taking a step forward. So that is what prayaschitta is all about. That it doesn't keep that collection of papa, but allows me to learn, grow, and move forward. So again, a representation from yatra. The other one is Ganga Snanam. Ganga Devi represents knowledge of the highest self, knowledge as a representation of Guru, the mother who nourishes not only physically with the water that she has, but the knowledge that we need. She's a nourishment. So it's again an effort of surrender, saying, Devi, you are my mother. Please embrace me and forgive me for what I have done. Let my mistakes be washed away by your compassion. So again, it's that idea that is being reinforced in these physical acts. So again, when it comes to prayaschitta, there can be a full spectrum of specific acts to be done. Let there be sincere regret. Let me genuinely take up tapas to reinforce the ideas. And lastly, this is when we know that prayaschitta is complete, when I will never make that mistake again. I've truly learned. I will never do this again. If I keep repeating the mistakes, then something's wrong with step number 1, honestly. So that final completion is, may I never repeat this mistake again. So, sincere regret, genuine tapas, and a remorse to never repeat this again. Or, sorry, not remorse, resolve to never repeat this again. These are the 3 main principles behind prayaschitta karma. Now there's one more generalized prayaschitta karma that we can talk about, because who knows how many mistakes I've actually done. There's a lot that I do remember, but who knows what sort of mistakes I made last week, last month, when I was younger, and let alone what I've done in the past karmas, past lives as well. How much mistakes have I made? How can I be absolved of all of those papas? Because in this statement it says, Papo gaf pari dhuyatam. That massive cloud of papa, may I blow it away. How do I account for those that I don't remember? So there's a more generalized prayaschitta karma, and it's very simple. Deceivingly simple. It says, take up the japa of Bhagwan's name. Rama Nama Japa. That will cover all of the other papas that I don't know. We might ask, why is this so effective? Why is this part of my prayaschitta karma? So let's take a look at just generally what japa is all about. And I'm not going to go into too much detail because I want you to come back to satsang on Mahashivratri Day. Because usually it's our tradition here in Chinmay Mission that we invite the 9th graders to come into assembly on that weekend of Mahashivratri, and we introduce them to the practice of japa. So we'll go into a lot more depth of the japa practice itself, but I wanted to cover the basic principles of why taking up Bhagwan's name can help purify the mind from any mistakes that we've made. So the concept of japa means that I take up the name and I repeat that name over and over again. This is a simple mechanics of japa. Let's look at why name is important. If I were to shout your name, do you not turn around and respond to that name? I am invoking something with just the verbal cue. And this was an interesting time because in the last 4 weeks since I had my own name changed, I have had an identity crisis in trying to adjust that my identity belongs to a new name now. And also recognizing when someone calls that name, I have to remember to respond to that name. Then when someone calls me by my old name, I have to recognize that it's the wrong name and correct that. And it's still an adjustment period for me right now. So it goes to show that we are so closely tied, my identity is associated with my name. There's power behind that association, which is why we spend so much time choosing our children's name. Please excuse my language, it's just for an example's sake, but if I were to call my child Gada for the rest of his life, a donkey, what would that do to that child's psychology going forward? He would understand what a donkey is, and he'd think, what, I'm that now? So then either he will unconsciously develop those traits or never grow out of those restriction. Name has a very powerful influence because name invokes an idea, and that idea is constantly brought into the forefront of the mind whenever it's invoked. And another part of, we also have to be careful in not getting swept away by the fashion trends of baby names. Even in our own Sanatana Dharma, they'll find like Sanskritam names, but they'll change it because it doesn't sound good. Or they'll try to like adjust it. Oh, we have a fire drill. This is a training. Your children will be taking